For 360 years, she's held our gaze. A girl with the pearl earring. Yep, Vermeer's most famous painting. And what most people don't even realize, she's not even a portrait. It's never meant to be. And she also disappeared for about 200 years. Until in 1881, she was quietly bought at an auction for 2 guilders and 30 cents. About $30. Why was she so low? Well, she was listed as Tronie at the auction house. More on what a Tronie is in just a minute. And we'll also look at how a Tronie might just affect how you see people that you photograph a little bit differently than you ever did before. From time to time, you might hear me just say pearl instead of a girl with a pearl earring, because she's become, to me, so much more to me than a painting. And not just to me. Funny little story about the museum where she's at is they'll often refer to her as she or her. Like if a visitor comes up and says, "Where can I find the girl with the pearl earring?" And they'll go, "Oh, she's in room 15. That's just, she's come to be that way to a lot of people all around the world. So many of Vermeer's paintings have been noted as quiet. He's also been called the master of silence, unlike other painters of the time, like Jan Steen, with all the ruckus taverns and brothels and all that going on. You know, he painted some scenes where you could almost hear the dust settle. And the story of how Pearl found her home in the Maritz house is certainly no different. Vermeer finished her up around 1665, and it's believed that she went to the family of the main patron of Vermeer. This guy's name was Peter van Ralphen, and yes, I will screw up every single name that I try and say in this video, but hey, let's just go with it. So, stayed with the family for a few years and bounced around, passed around, but then she disappeared for about 200 years. No record of her anywhere. Then in 1881, she came up for auction at the Notary's Auction House at The Hague. At that time, there were a couple of guys. One was Stewars and one was Toom. I'll put their full names up here, and I'm not going to even try them. But they were friends, and Stewars kind of recognized the high probability of the painting being of Vermeer. So he talked to Toom and said, "Hey, let's don't bid against each other, so we don't draw attention to her," because the main thing they wanted was to keep the painting there and not get it taken by a private collector and she'd be gone. So they didn't bid against each other, and it went for 2 guilders and 30 cents. One of the reasons was because she was listed as Tronie. That's all that it said on the auction house papers. So nobody really gave her a second glance, didn't let it go. So Toom's got her. In the cleaning and restoration process, it was confirmed that Vermeer's signature was up here in this top left corner. It was quietly applied, but it was definitely there. Toombs died in 1902, and he bequeathed Pearl and quite a few other paintings, I think 12 in total, if I'm not mistaken, to the Maritz house at The Hague. And that's kind of been her home ever since. She traveled around for a little while on different exhibitions, but due to her age and her fragility now, she's at home and she'll always be there. Most people actually think Pearl's a lot bigger than she really is. This is exactly how big she is. I cut this out of cardboard. It's 44.5 centimeters by 39 centimeters, or 17 inches by 15 and a quarter. I decided to do what the Dutch apprentices might do, because what they would do at that time was they would copy Tronies. You know, one thing about when you're copying a painting is the things that you learn and the things that you notice, especially here on the Pearl. You got light coming in from the left and just a subtle reflection off the collar at the bottom, and that's it. The rest is just left to suggestion, and that was the power that Vermeer had. So just what is a Tronie? Well, it's not a portrait. It's a character study of expression, emotion, light, most time using anonymous models. The artist was not under a constraint of a formal portrait with creating this legacy, or they weren't bound by anything, so they were just allowed to create and really just capture the essence of human nature. And that's what Vermeer gave us, each one of us, our own moment with her. Because there's so many things unknown. One, we don't know who she is. We don't know where she is. We don't know whether she's coming, whether she's going. Um, did she just say something, or is she about to say something? So there's just so many things that he left for us to be able to create our own story about her. And to me, that's what makes her even more beautiful, because in today's world where we're just bombarded with images and this and that, we go from one to the other, she causes us to stop and think and use our imagination so that we can create our own story, about her. And, that to me, that's art. So how do we capture that same ambiguity with our photographs, whether it's on the streets or wherever? Well, the first thing we need to look at is most modern photographers would just call these portraits, but they're not. To me, they're Tronies. You're not documenting reality. You're capturing character. You're not preserving status. You're studying emotion. And just like Vermeer did in 1665, you're using anonymous faces to explore what it is just to be human. So how do you find these Tronies when you're out on the street shooting? Well, one, stop looking for portraits. You start looking for moments of genuine human presence. Find a place. Look for some light. It ain't got to be some magical sunbeam from the heavens. It's just a nice soft light is great. And just be still. Be quiet. And, soon enough, you'll just fade into the background. Believe me. If I can do it here in central Vietnam, where I am literally the only non-Vietnamese person at these markets, I'm pretty sure you can do it too. So, you just fade in and become part of the scene, and then you'll find those people they glance at you, they look at you, not like you got a camera, but just like they would look at anybody else. And that's when you have your moment. A great quote that I really like is from a guy named Steve McCurry. You may not recognize the name, but pretty sure you might recognize the image that he took for National Geographic. It goes something like this: if you wait, people will forget your camera and the soul will drift up into view. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And holiday and family time is a great time to try this out. Just find a spot, sit down, relax, be quiet, find some light. Everybody's running around, just wait for it, because the Tronie will come. And when they do, you're going to be ready. Here's what Vermeer understood in 1665 that most photographers just miss today. A Tronie is not about the person. It's about the moment of connection between the viewer and the subject. That's why Pearl has resonated with millions across the world. It's not about who she is, because when we look at her, she looks back. And in that moment, we see ourselves. When I look at the faces on the streets of Vietnam, I'm not documenting people. I'm doing what Vermeer did 360 years ago. And I look for that moment that when a stranger's face meets mine, and for 1/125th of a second, we're not strangers anymore. And if I get that, it's not a portrait, it's a Tronie. And to me, that's art. So the next time you're out on the streets or in the kitchen, in the living room, don't shoot portraits, shoot Tronies. Find the light, capture the gaze, get that moment. And who knows, 360 years from now, someone might just be looking back. So here's my little study. It was a lot of fun to do. And if you like what you've seen so far, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Me and Pearl would appreciate it.